So, we are going to be talking about Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. I'll never say it right, and I don't care at this
Don't
point.
care. Don't care.
So, Dale saw this movie last year, right? He saw it before it was out. Now that it's out, and even before it came out, the run up to, there has been a lot of discussion about this movie. Dale watched it again. I watched like 27 minutes because I was like, no, but I did see some of it. So we're going to discuss that now, not only the film, but everything that has surrounded the film, criticism, courtroom cases, allegations. We're just going to get into all of that. So, Dale, now that you've seen it fully completed,
hmm
has your thoughts changed since you watched it the first time, or has it remained the same?
It's remained the same. A lot of stuff that I saw back when I saw it, like I think was it April 2023 or 20, yeah, about April 2023. Um, a lot of it has stayed the same. Very much has changed. Well, no, I think I saw it June 2023. But yeah, a lot of it, nothing really has changed that much in the movie. As far as visually, like a lot of the temp music is gone. Like that the club scene that movie opens up, I think originally was Cardi B as a placeholder track. That's not there anymore. But for most part, the visuals were there. Like, think if I remember correctly, the only scenes that are changed from the version I saw, from the screening, was the when the movie mentions later on about satellite falling. In the movie back then, we saw the actual satellite fall into the city they're in and create a whole catastrophe, whatever, and that's part of what creates the ending of both like Caesar and Catalina, Giancarlo Esposito and Adam Driver's character uniting, that catalyst. But yeah, for the most part, that's it. I mean, in that um satellite dropping, that's how you see Dustin Hoffman's character die. He doesn't kind of die off screen. You see him in his mansion and the shockwaves and shit kill him. But for the most part, the movie's one for one exactly what I saw. I think removing those scenes and replacing some stuff, like a lot of the stuff where they show TV, reference a lot of MTV news, stuff like that. Like the visuals are very much the same. I think the theatrical version that's out now is probably about 30 minutes shorter than the one I saw. Like 30 to 45 minutes shorter than what I saw. So yeah.
Okay, so good, bad, somewhere in between.
Oh, it's still the same shit.
You-
Like same batch. Like the thing with this movie is visually, and conceptually, it's stunning. Like, but you can still see like the CGI looks. Somebody online who finally saw the movie described it as like watching those old Spy Kids movies, like when it went 3D. That's
Not
and like
surprised.
Shark Boy, like that's what the visual effects give the vibe off. And I was like, that's exactly what it felt like when I saw it, like with a lot of previs stuff. And it's sad to see that the transition from previs to final fizz really did not change that much. There are a couple different editing differences. Like I think now he's using more. This movie has a lot more non-linear cuts in it. Non-linear for people means you're being shown clips that either happened before or have gonna happen after, like in a conversation and scene, and it just cuts back and forth differently. It's kind of drawing and off-putting, but they're a lot more in that now. Um, but yeah, this movie is still not good. I mean, the only thing I would say that's good now is a lot of the stuff post. Um, there are a lot of like the movie's about the fall of an empire. Let's just be honest. But the delivery of it is really poor and convoluted. You really don't get that vibe until near the end, where um one of Francis Ford Coppola's favorite actors who was canceled and he doesn't want to make a woke movie. Shia LaBeouf is on a very Trumpian style path, even to the point where it says there's somebody holding a sign that says "Make New Rome Great Again." Very much on the nose. And for somebody who said he didn't want to make a woke movie, you're rarely influenced a lot by what happened during the Trump presidency and post, because it's in your movie. Like you can't say it's not woke when you're making a movie about the fall of an empire and stuff like that. So
What I wanted to do, my original plan was to just listen to a couple of the creators who I like trust their opinion about films to see what they had to say about this movie. And what's been surprising is that like there have been a lot of people who have been like, this movie's great.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is wonderful because Francis Ford Coppola did this no holds bar. This was his passion project. Like, it's an original idea. He spent all this money. He has all of these great actors. Like, this is like the cinematography is fantastic and visually it's like a spectacle and whatever. So, like, this movie is amazing. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that was not what I was expecting to hear at all,
Yeah.
actually." Like, I thought it was just people were just gonna pan it. It's very split, like, it's very
Yeah.
divisive, which, again, was not expecting. Like, I didn't realize that the hold that Francis Ford Coppola has on cinema lovers, cinema goers, film bros, film girlies, like, I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that he's a very important filmmaker and he's made some really great films. I just was unaware of, like, what that meant when he made a film that wasn't up to the usual standards of how he
Yeah.
makes movies. Um, that impact is still very much there, and so it kind of feels like no matter what he made or no matter what he will make, if he chooses to continue making movies, there's always gonna be, like, a cult of people who are just gonna ride for it no matter what.
Yeah.
So, that was interesting. Some of the okay, there were creators that I watched, they were just like, "You know what? Is it a great movie? No.
Mhm.
But is it cool that this movie exists? Yes."
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel very much like, yeah, sure, we should all do what we are passionate about. And I guess if you're a director of that caliber and you don't have the studio system restrictions or whatever on you and you can just make whatever you want, sure, you can make whatever you want. Now, should you make whatever you want? I don't know. I don't know if I think my issue is like, I feel like we give passes to these great filmmakers to just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then when you hear all the stuff that happens during the making of these movies, it's like, I don't think we should be giving these people passes. Like, I don't think that, like, when you listen to like what happened to some of the actors on The Shining, it's like we're putting people through all that just for a movie. That doesn't make any sense to me. I just feel like you can do good work and not make everyone's lives so weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like as an actor, you should come to set knowing what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Improvisation and stuff is great, but like the director should at least know what's gonna happen. And you're gonna tell me that he's been sitting in his trailer smoking weed, not having a plan, wasting everyone's time, wasting his own money just to not come to work every day, not knowing what you're gonna do. No. To me, that's unacceptable. Like, if I was an actor, I don't care who you are, like, don't waste my time like that. These actors are great actors. They can go somewhere else and do someone else's movie. Like, it just feels like we're lauding this man because of his great filmmaking abilities without thinking about like what that actually means like in reality, like how what that actually meant for the people who are working on the movie. And also just like there are so many great independent films that don't get financed the way that they should or marketed the way that they should.
Mm.
And because it's Francis Ford Coppola, like he can just make whatever and y'all are going to eat it up. Like it's just really I don't like that sentiment. I just don't think that that makes sense.
Yeah. There is like, and I get it too. I'm in the part of, oh, I'm happy at opportunity to have an attempt at this movie, but this movie has been in works for decades, decades, decades. Like I think he came up with this or had the idea for this post Godfather. So it's like from the almost like late 70s, 80s that this movie's been in his mind. And there comes to a point as a creative you realize, oh, this movie is legitimately not possible. Like there's plenty of stuff I've written, I've gone back and I'm like, yo, what the hell is this? Like at the time, I'm like, oh, it's the best thing in the world. Nobody fucking with me. Nobody touching with me. It's the greatest thing anymore. It's shit on everybody else. Like there's a certain point you have to take ego out of the equation and look at your work. Like, is it? good. Like there were plenty of other people also attached to this movie before. I think I don't want to get strong, but I think
Leonardo DiCaprio
Leo,
was
yeah, Leo was
attached.
attached. I think at one point Nicole Kidman was attached to this. Like fucking
Hmm.
Oscar Isaac was attached to this at one point. You know, a lot of people were attached to it and dropped out. And I look at Adam Driver's filmography, and he has been attached to a lot of projects with a lot of high profile directors, but the results have not been good. It's like, oh, I'm a good actor, and like I got Coppola wanted to work with me. Like you have good directors wanting to work with you, but their projects are not the best because, and that's not a knock on oldness, but they're also past their prime as far as, being the visionary men they once were. They're still upholding to the vision they had back then, were at their peak, which media sensibilities and viewing expectations don't meet. Sometimes it hits. Like no one cannot say Spielberg is not still hitting on all cylinders anymore. You can't deny
Scorsese
it.
is still
Scorsese's
hitting,
still
like,
sitting on all
so it's
cylinders.
not, I don't know if it's
So
age. It might just be delusion. Like,
it
I
might,
don't
yeah,
know.
in this case it's delusion. Um, so and like when I saw this movie like last year, and like I'm in the same theater as like Francis Ford Coppola, and I'm there tweaking like I am hype. I'm texting people like, "Yo, I'm at this Ford Coppola screening. This shit ain't coming out till next year." That y'all should have came with me, Bugs Bunny, and I'm sitting there like I'm like in the aisle. I see this dude. I'm like fanboying like no other. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like so disappointed
Yeah.
because like you see, oh, this is a visionary director, one of your favorite directors of all time, a Hollywood legend icon, and what you get on screen is disappointing. It reminds me very much as an adult looking back and watching the original Star Wars, like the Star Wars sequel movies by Lucas. And it's Lucas was also doing what he wanted to do, but like the level of detail and care and tightness, to use that word once again, that I saw in like the from New Hope to Return of the Jedi and all those three movies was not there in
Mm.
this one. Like he was really CGI heavy, green screen heavy, and all that physical presence that helped sell a movie was not in there for me, and it lost something watching it. Even as a kid, I kind of knew something was off, but shit looked cool. But now as an adult, I can recognize what I felt back then. So yeah, it's tough to reconcile.
There has been a lot of drama that surrounded this movie. First of all, I think it went out on what, $120 million in terms of budget, and it
Mhm.
only cleared $4 million in its domestic debut. So he will not be seeing favorable returns on that. But beyond what it made in the box office, the director has filed a lawsuit against Variety because they published a story saying that he was kissing extras on set and touching them inappropriately. There was no sexual harassment department. There was an intimacy coordinator. All this is alleged by Variety. And Francis Ford Coppola filed another filed a lawsuit against them saying that all the actors had to sign an NDA, so they should have known that the sources that they were getting for their article was um just fake, and like it wasn't well sourced, and they shouldn't have written it. How dare they write this this story about whatever he was alleged to be doing on set that was inappropriate. Um, so the Variety said, while we will not comment on active litigation, we stand by our reporters. So, and this is what I mean. Like this man, I think, was very proud about the fact that he was hiring people who had been canceled, like Shia LaBeouf and like Dennis Hoffman and John Voight. And like I find it weird that he was so interested and proud to incorporate those actors specifically.
Hmm.
And then all of this happens. So it's just like, hmm, is it birds of a feather flock together? Like it's giving the same energy of just like, well, we are good at our job, so we can just do whatever we want. Like, no, not in this society, not right now. Stop. touching people that you shouldn't be touching. Like I'm allegedly. So it's just it's gross. And if he doesn't see returns on this movie, because he probably won't,
Mhm.
like that's what you get. I don't know, karma. Isn't it something?
Yeah, so the New York Times, like they have a interview with Aubrey Plaza between the release of this and of course Agatha All Along to rave reviews
Hmm.
as well. And they asked her about that whole situation. And what they said is when asked about the allegation, Plaza said, I wasn't on set that day, so I don't know what went down that day. But she admitted that the production wasn't for the faint of heart and that Coppola would prioritize spontaneity in directing a cast full of strong categories who were leads in other movies before. She said it was madness working on the film. Her mentality every day was every man for herself, only the strong survive here. Um, and they went on to say any scene felt up for grabs since Coppola was liable to tell her that the next take you're a spider, as he was thought he got an idea from a barista. And he said there are days where I'd go to set thinking we're about to start shooting, and it said he'd go, I'd like to play a game and cut production. But she did also go on to say she felt inspired by his unconventional approach because if she knew she couldn't adapt to the constantly shifting material, she was in danger of no longer being on scene and her a lot of her scenes being cut. So she said between takes she tried to stay in character. Um and so yeah, I mean, and she said the actors who were willing to improvise ultimately proved the most adept at navigating the production. And if you weren't there, if you weren't, you would be getting eaten alive. You had to be confident to have a plan because it's not all on the page, which is very obvious. Like her saying nothing was on the page, and actors had to adapt. Because watching this movie, the lines they're given and the performance of these actors is just like, oh, I'm given a vague description of what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me pretend like the clip going on right now is between Adam Driver and dang the chick from Game of Thrones. I don't know why I cannot say it.
Natalie Emmanuel.
Nanny Emmanuel. Like of them him going, her going, excuse me, him saying yes, excuse me, yes, and him saying, go off into the club. Like that was majority of the whole movie. And I think the only parts were scripted is when they literally would pull whole text from like Shakespeare and Hamlet and they'd go back and forth on that. Like I can clearly say those are probably the only parts of the movies that felt scripted to me. Everything else just felt like really odd and incoherent, and it's just actors reacting to what other actors are saying to try and be in line with what is supposed to happen in the scene. So
Yeah. Honestly, Aubrey's answer is giving very much like when Jennifer Lawrence was talking about her experience of working on American Hustle.
yeah,
Because on that movie, like Amy Adams has come out and talked about how terrible that shooting
process.
experience was with David O. Russell and how like she was crying and stuff. And Jennifer Lawrence's answer to that was like, well, he's just tough and like if you're tough, you can kind of get through it. It's like I don't I don't know. I don't understand. This is the thing that I've come to realize. People who are in the public eye and who have been in the public eye for a long time are not normal people. Like the way that their brain functions is just not normal. So things that are obvious to you, like it won't be obvious to them. If someone's saying, "Hey, like I was sexually harassed on this movie," and your response to that was, "Well, it was every man for himself," what are you talking about? Like, sure, you weren't there on set when it happened, so like you can't speak to that incident, but I don't know, as a woman and as a human being, you should at least be like, yeah, if someone said that that was their experience, that's pretty messed up and like that shouldn't have happened. I didn't hear that anywhere in the answer that you were reading off from the New York Times.
Yeah,
So it was just like people should not be reduced to tears while they're working. Like that is not a good working environment. And that just goes back to my whole spiel that I made earlier. It's just like, you cannot give excuses to these powerful men. Like, they don't, first of all, they don't even care about you. So, like, why? We don't need to be backing them at all, actually. And second of all, like, why would you want to work in an environment like that? Because it's him? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't, like, I truly cannot understand it, and I'm trying to understand it. Like I'm trying to get like, okay, like if I was cast in a movie and Steven Spielberg or David Fincher or whoever was just like horrible to me, would I just be like, well, I just got to get tough enough. If I get tough enough, then I'll be able to like deal with it. And everyone who isn't able to deal with this, they're just not tough enough. They just need to get it together. No, I would be like, you know what? Y'all are some weird white men. Like I'm leaving the set and you will hire someone else and then that'll be fine. But like I'm not gonna have my peace disturbed by you guys or my professionalism put in question because yes, these actors, they're not like the main cast, but like you need background actors to make your movies.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. So like why are you treating them differently than you're treating these other actors? The fact that like even in her response, the fact that she's saying that like, well, if I didn't adapt to what he wanted, my scenes will get cut. Like, are like, do you not hear the why that doesn't like the
Yeah.
contradiction there? Like, that's just crazy.
That's
Like, that's
no
actually crazy.
that's an abuse of power right there.
That's an
And
abuse of power
yeah,
right there. Like, Aubrey, like, honey, what is going on?
yeah,
And the little bit of the movie that I did watch, and I watched that scene when he was talking about being in the club, like why, for me, it was just giving this old crusty man wants to watch like beautiful young women not wearing much clothes, making out with each other. Like it's just giving male gross gaze. Like it's
yeah,
just gross. Like and like, and I feel bad because I just feel like these actors, not like Adam Driver in them, because like he's gonna be fine. Like who cares? But like, for Natalie Emmanuel, who like this is the first big thing she's really done since Game of Thrones,
as
like
a lead actress.
as a lead actress, and people are like panning her performance. They're like, well, she wasn't good in it, and like everyone else knew the assignment. Everyone else knew to be wacky and weird, and she just played it straight. It's like these actors weren't. I don't even know if they were given like a script necessarily. I feel like they were giving concepts of an idea.
Yeah.
You want to talk about concepts? Like I feel like they were giving concepts.
Yeah.
Like don't come for her just because she didn't understand this man and how he chose to work that day. Like it just makes me angry. Like I'm just so upset because I just feel like there are actors who are really good in this and not the canceled actors who are just a hot mess and their buddy was like, "Well, I think that you're okay and I think that you're fine. You probably didn't do what they said that you did, so be in my movie."
Yeah.
Not them. I'm talking about Aubrey Plaza and Natalie Emmanuel and Chloe Fineman, like people who Aubrey is like an established actress, but like these other girls who are just like this is their first like real big thing in terms of like the critically acclaimed stuff.
Yeah.
And they're working with this man.
Yeah.
It's
And
just so unfair.
and and like with like this movie is camp, but camp. This movie, like somebody's like, "Oh, you don't get this movie because it's supposed to be camp." This movie is not camp. This movie
It's not camp.
is
It's
really
not.
poorly done. And Aubrey Plaza, I think, is in a place where she's still, even though she's doing more serious and dramatic roles, she's still known as a comedic actor. So guess what? If her performance is not good, people are gonna say, "Oh, it's her first time doing a serious movie," and they'll be fine with it. So she can get a pass.
Hmm.
But like a lot of the stuff, like Francis saying, "Oh, we're gonna scrap shooting. I have this random idea," and like how she's talking about, "Oh, I wasn't there. I don't know the interactions of people on set background or that day." It gives me very much like Shelley Duvall pops to my mind. Like we talk about now how Stanley Kubrick like 127 takes to do that. Like that's
Hmm.
ridiculous. And even Jack Nicholas went on to say like, "Oh, when he was with Kubrick, seemed like he was dealing with a different director compared to Shelley Duvall. It hurt when they were on set together. It's that kind of situation.
Hmm.
And that situation is also probably why we have all these intimacy coordinators, all this stuff on set to, keep that balance of power on set. Like the boys had an episode where this one of the scummy director and like Vought was like berating a PA and Ryan and
Hmm.
Homelander they intervene. That happens a lot on set, and that's why these positions were created to avoid those abuses of power that some directors, producers, and other co-stars go on with ego trips.
Yeah. And it's just I don't. I'm glad that we're in a space where we can at least call these things out. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to change all that much. I don't feel like they're going to change if we're just going to keep giving these men excuses of like, well, they're geniuses, so what are we supposed to do? Like, say something? Yes.
Yeah,
Like, I just can't. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this one out. Like, it's just not making sense to me.
yeah, it's not. So,
So that pissed me off.
look, he's not like honestly, he invested what 150, 120 million of his own money into this project.
Hmm.
Um, let's be honest, he's not going to make that back. It's only made a budget, like I said, of about 4 million.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's not. He sold like his whole winery, and wineries make a lot of money. Like every celebrity, every actor has their own tequila or whatever. So it's a money making thing. But yeah, I don't think this was a really good move. So
No. And I guess it'll continue to be split. It'll be interesting to see like when it comes time for like Oscars and stuff, if it'll be included. I really hope it won't
yeah,
be, just because like come on, like I feel like we could all agree like this movie is not good. I mean, I know people are gonna say that it's good because it's a passion project from a legendary director.
yeah,
So I feel like just on that basis, people might give it, like a pass or be very or grade on a curve, be very generous with the film. Because maybe there were ideas that seemed good, like there were certain things that seemed like okay. But to me, this was like a weird, like a low grade, like Baz Luhrmann, like version of some type of Greek tragedy. Like it feels like that's what this movie
yeah.
is.
It's
Um,
it you hit it like yeah, it's very much visually like Baz, but
where things
it
are just
does
happening.
things are just happening. But with with Baz, it works. It still feels coherent and cohesive. With this movie, I
Yeah.
didn't get that feeling at all.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's not Baz Luhrmann. It just
yeah,
feels like
yeah,
some type of weird version of that. It honestly feels like a film student got like millions of dollars from their dad to
yeah,
like make a movie about like how we live in a society. Like it kind of feels like it's in that vein. And it's not camp, because if it was camp, then we would be laughing and having a good time with it.
yeah.
That's not what happened here. So yeah, I feel like people are always gonna when we did our video about this months ago and put it up there, people were like, "Well, you don't understand cinema because you like Marvel." And it's
I
like,
don't
or the
like
movie,
Marvel. Like,
or first of all, not true.
like
Like,
how often
first
have
of
I said
all,
I'm tired of Marvel movies?
you're factually inaccurate because we've talked about how Marvel has flopped so badly for years, actually, since we've made this podcast, for
Yeah,
years.
like our first movie reviewed was a Marvel movie. Like,
It was.
yeah, so
Um,
yeah,
and second of all, maybe the movie's just bad.
yeah.
Like
Like,
maybe that. Consider that.
I love auteur directors and directors being a chance to create their vision, but that vision also has to be guided with a sense of realism. Like
Yeah.
you cannot give anybody like every creative wishes they had unrestricted freedom and creativity, but you give a creative and that kind of creative, it's chaotic.
Hmm.
And so you also need somebody involved with your productions to at least keep you evenly keeled and focused on the other stuff that help make a movie work. And this being self-funded, like once again, Coppola had zero people telling him what he couldn't or could do. So,
Yeah, so not great. I want to not think about this movie ever again.
mm-mm. Look, when award season comes up, some try-hard film dude who's like, "Oh, you guys don't understand cinema. They're gonna complain about this movie not being awarded for anything, and they're gonna go, "Oh, he's one of our greatest workers of all times." Movie's not is not meritable in any way, shape, or form for any of the categories in the Oscars. Not for directing, not for like CG and VFX, not for acting, not for writing, like maybe costuming, maybe, but them outfits was basic as hell. Like them dresses they had Natalie in didn't look like no fancy like multi-million dollar dresses or whatever, anything like that. So no, the score, the only like original song was the one from the damn Coliseum, but that shit was kind of booty anyway. Like there's nothing in this movie where I can say, oh, I can see it going for that being an Oscar. Again, I know some try hard film person is gonna be pissed off when it gets no kind of categories at all.
Yeah. So there it is, our long-awaited Megalopolis
Meg
review.
Megaflopolis.
Megapopolis.
There,
Yes,
yeah.
there we go.
Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the 16mm Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.